Commander Elena Vasquez stepped off the transport shuttle onto the red-brown soil of Kepler 442c, her boots crunching against crystalline formations that jutted from the ground like broken teeth. The planet's twin suns cast harsh shadows across. The barren landscape, where twisted metal trees swayed in the perpetual wind. Behind her, the other colonists huddled together, their faces pale as they surveyed their new home. "This is it?" whispered Dr. Marcus Chen, the expedition's xenobiologist. His instruments beeped frantically, detecting movement in the scrubland beyond their landing zone. Elena shouldered her pack, checking the weight of her trapping gear one final time. "It's perfect," she said, ignoring the nervous laughter from the group. While the others saw desolation, she saw opportunity. The preliminary surveys had identified over 40 species of predator on this world, each one adapted to kill in ways that would make Earth's most dangerous creatures seem tame. Captain Rodriguez, the mission leader, activated his comm unit. "Base camp will be established here in this valley. Vasquez, you're assigned to perimeter security until we can get the defensive barriers online." "Negative, sir." Elena's voice was steady, professional. "I'm heading into the highlands. There's better hunting territory up there." "That's a death sentence. The stalker packs run those ridges and the atmospheric readings show—" "I know what they show." She pointed toward the distant peaks, where strange aurora danced between the crags. "The magnetic interference will mask my heat signature. The terrain channeling will let me control their approach vectors. And the stalkers?" She smiled, the expression sharp as her trapping wire. "They're about to learn what happens when you hunt something that hunts back." As Elena walked away from the safety of the group, Dr. Chen called after her. "What if you're wrong? What if the planet kills you?" She paused at the edge of the landing zone, her silhouette dark against the alien sky. "Then it'll have to work, harder than anything else that's tried." The wind carried her words back to them as she disappeared into the wilderness, leaving only footprints and the whisper of her trap line being deployed. 3 days later, Elena crouched in the shadow of a metallic boulder, watching the stalker pack circle her campsite 200 meters below. The creatures moved like liquid shadow, their 6 legs carrying them silently across the rocky terrain. Each one stood nearly 3 meters tall, with razor-sharp mandibles that could shear through the colony's standard armor plating. The pack, leader, scarred from previous battles, tested the air with sensory tendrils that writhed like serpents from its skull. It had found her scent, but something held it back. The invisible boundary that Elena had spent 2 sleepless nights creating. Her trap line, monofilament wire, thinner than human hair but stronger than steel cable, stretched between the metal trees in a web of death. Each strand was positioned at killing height for the local predators, tensioned to slice through hide and bone with the creature's own momentum. But the wire was only the beginning. Pressure plates carved from local stone lay hidden beneath the alien moss. Step wrong here, and a spring-loaded spear would punch through a stalker's center mass. Motion sensors salvaged from her landing gear triggered flashbangs designed to blind and disorient pack hunters, and at the heart of it all, thermal mines that would turn the very ground into a furnace. The pack leader took a cautious step forward. Elena held her breath, watching as its foot hovered inches above a concealed trigger. The creature's instincts screamed danger, and it pulled back, chittering commands to its pack. They began to circle wider, looking for another approach. But Elena had mapped every game trail, every natural path through the highlands. There was no safe route to her position, not for them. As the twin suns set and the aurora began their nightly dance, Elena lay down on her bedroll beneath the open sky. The stalkers watched from the darkness beyond her perimeter, their eyes reflecting the strange light. They would learn tonight that this small human was no prey animal. She was something far more dangerous, a creature that turned the very landscape into her weapon. Elena's eyes snapped open to the sound she'd been waiting for, the high-pitched shriek of a stalker in pain. Her first customer had found the trap line. Rolling silently from her bedroll, she activated her night vision goggles and peered into the darkness. The pack leader thrashed against the monofilament wire that had sliced deep into its rear leg, black ichor spraying across the metallic rocks. Its packmates circled frantically, their hunting formation dissolved into chaos. But Elena had studied their behavior patterns from the orbital surveys. Stalkers were pack predators, but they were also hierarchical. Remove the alpha, and the pack would scatter rather than risk challenging an unknown threat. She triggered the second phase of her defense system. The thermal mines erupted in sequence, turning the ground beneath the wounded stalker into molten glass. The creature's death cry echoed across the highlands, a sound that would carry for kilometers through the thin atmosphere. Every predator on this part of the continent would hear it and remember. The surviving pack members fled into the darkness, but Elena wasn't finished. She activated her comm unit and began broadcasting on all frequencies, not to the colony, but to the planet itself. The signal was simple: ultrasonic pulses that mimicked the stalker's death wail, amplified and repeated until it became a song of warning. Over the next 4 hours, she tracked 17 different species approaching her position. Blade wing flyers, that dove from the aurora-lit sky. Tunnel crawlers that erupted from the stone itself. Mist hunters that could phase between dimensions according to the colony's preliminary scans. Each one met the same fate. Elena's trap network adapted to every approach, every hunting strategy the planet could devise. Her motion sensors tracked the flyers, seismic detectors caught the crawlers. And for the mist hunters, she had prepared something special: EM generators, that collapsed their phase-shifting ability, making them solid enough for her traps to find. By dawn, the highlands were quiet. Elena counted 13 corpses scattered around her perimeter, each one perfectly positioned as a warning to others. She began the careful work of resetting her traps, strengthening the weak points her nocturnal visitors had revealed. Dr. Chen's voice crackled through her comm unit. "Elena, we've been tracking massive life sign readings from your position. Are you—" "I'm fine, Marcus. Just setting boundaries." She looked out across her claimed territory, where predator corpses marked the edges of human space. "Tell Rodriguez I'll have a safe perimeter established within the week." 2 weeks had passed since Elena claimed the highlands, and her reputation had spread far beyond the original stalker pack. The surviving predators gave her territory a wide berth, their natural hunting patterns now flowing around her position like water around a stone. She had become an apex predator through sheer human ingenuity, but every ecosystem has its balances, and something was stirring in the deeper caverns. The first sign came at dawn on the 15th day. Elena's seismic sensors detected massive movement in the underground tunnel network, something far larger than the tunnel crawlers she'd already dealt with. The readings suggested a creature nearly 50 meters long, moving with deliberate purpose toward her position. Dr. Chen's panicked voice burst through her comm. "Elena, we're reading massive biosignatures converging on your location. The computer. Models are calling it an extinction-level event for local fauna. You need to evacuate immediately." Elena checked her weapons cache and smiled grimly. "Negative. This is exactly what I've been preparing for." She had suspected this moment would come. Remove enough mid-tier predators from an ecosystem, and eventually, something bigger would emerge to investigate. The planet was sending its champion, the Devourer. That's what she decided to call it when it finally breached the surface. The creature was a writhing mass of bioluminescent flesh and crystalline bone, its dozens of feeding tentacles tasting the air for the scent of the interloper who had disrupted its hunting grounds. Ancient and terrible, it had probably slept beneath the highlands for centuries, sustained by the occasional stalker pack foolish enough to venture too deep. Now it had awakened to find its territory claimed by something it didn't recognize. Elena activated her master override, bringing every trap, every sensor, every carefully positioned death machine in her network online simultaneously. The Devourer's tentacles probed forward, testing for weaknesses in her perimeter. It found the first monofilament wire and sliced through it effortlessly. The thermal mines erupted around its bulk, but its crystalline hide absorbed the heat without damage. Elena's motion sensors screamed warnings as the creature began its inexorable advance. But she had one more surprise. Hidden beneath her campsite, she had assembled something that no trap had ever attempted on an alien world. A deadfall trap scaled for a creature of impossible size. 50 tons of processed metal ore, suspended above a pit lined with salvaged ship components, their edges sharpened to molecular thinness. "Come on, then," Elena whispered, backing slowly toward the trigger point. "Let's see what happens when an unstoppable force meets human stubbornness." The Devourer's death throes shook the entire highland region, its final roar echoing across continents. The massive deadfall had done its work perfectly, 50 tons of metal driving the creature down onto the molecularly sharpened spikes with its own weight and momentum. Bioluminescent fluids sprayed across the rocks, painting Elena's campsite in patterns of blue and gold. But it was the silence that followed that truly marked her victory. Across the planet's surface, every predator capable of sensing vibration or bioelectric fields had felt their apex die. The message was unmistakable. Something new ruled these highlands, something that could kill the unkillable. Captain Rodriguez's voice crackled through the comm, barely concealing his awe. "Elena, our orbital sensors show massive life-form displacement. Across the entire northern continent, everything is moving away from your position." She stood atop the Devourer's corpse, surveying her domain. In the distance, she could see creatures fleeing, not just the stalker packs and tunnel crawlers, but species the colony hadn't even cataloged yet. Flying things that looked like living storms. Ground-based predators the size of ancient Earths. Dinosaurs, all of them giving her territory the respect it demanded. "Territory secured, Captain. You can begin expansion operations whenever you're ready." Dr. Chen's transport arrived 3 days later, his scientific team eager to study the Devourers. Remains. They found Elena exactly where her reputation claimed she would be, sleeping peacefully beneath the alien stars, her bedroll positioned directly over the creature's skull. "How?" Chen asked, examining the sophisticated trap network that had brought down something that should have been unstoppable. "How did you know it would work?" Elena opened one eye, smiling at the question she'd expected. "Same way our ancestors knew to hunt mammoths with pointed sticks, Marcus. You find something bigger than you study it, and then you make the ground itself your weapon." She sat up, gesturing toward the now quiet wilderness where once deadly predators had held absolute dominion. "The thing about being human? We don't have claws or fangs or natural armor, but we do have something better. We have the ability to turn our environment into an extension of our will." Months later, as the colony expanded across the highlands, under Elena's protection, the first xenozoological survey teams would discover something remarkable. The local fauna had developed new behavioral patterns, new migration routes, new hunting grounds, all carefully avoiding the invisible boundary that marked human territory. They had learned to fear not just Elena Vasquez, but the very concept of humanity itself. The story of the small human who slept beneath alien stars spread through bioelectric networks and pheromone trails, becoming legend among creatures that had never before needed to consider the possibility of a superior predator. And at the heart of it all, Elena continued her work, expanding her trapline day by day, claim by claim, until an entire world learned to step carefully around the places where humans chose to make their home.